Greetings, garden friends! Today I've put together a vlog showing a normal garden day for me, and as usual, we'll be doing a few garden experiments. I'll be propagating veronica, lavender, and chrysanthemums in soil, some with and some without rooting hormone. I'll also be attempting to root roses in water because, hey, it's worked a few times, and hopefully eventually see whether a clear glass versus an opaque glass makes a difference in success. I have a theory that an opaque glass is better than a clear one. I'll be chatting with my husband about the garden and propagation while we pot up these cuttings, and also sowing what I call insurance seeds. I have some cuttings that have been rooting on this windowsill, but I think it will actually take if I put it out. So you can see great root formation here. These are very easy to root in water. Here are those rose cuttings I said I would do. I have half of them in a clear jar and half of them in a cobalt blue jar, which filters some light. And I'm going to put them on my windowsill and see which one does better, if either of them callus or root like the other piece that I put in the window. Brought out a mug to get some parsley and some mint to bring in. So this is something Italian flat leaf parsley, and then some mint that someone that was swapping some plants with me brought over, because I always forget that I have this out here, and consequently I'm not eating it. But if you put this back, I'm not really good at the edible stuff at this point, but trying to get better. So we'll take both these, and then it smells nice. So there we go. I'm going to pot up this rose, even though it's just calloused. This has just been in water probably for about a month and a half, maybe less than that actually, in the windowsill. So I'm gonna put it in the corner, even though there's not gonna be much else with it. And this is gonna go in my propagation tub. So I'll just pack it in like that, and then I'll be watering that in, and that'll go into propagation tub. I'm going to also pot up these mahogany splendor hibiscus. I have a lot of these around. They're really great for filling a hole in the garden, and I learned that I could have avoided buying more seed this year if I had trusted that my propagations that I had taken as cuttings in November would be vigorous enough, even just like potting them up in March and then bringing them out in April. These are cuttings of cuttings of cuttings now, so they're doing great. Some of the larger ones are over there in the bed, and they're a couple feet tall now. And so I've got a couple more of these. And this has just been in water in a sunny windowsill for probably like 2 weeks now. Use water now. We're gonna go around and get some stuff to propagate. We're gonna get some chrysanthemums, some veronica, and maybe whatever else I find that looks ready for cutting. So this is a hardy mum. It's like the type that you get that are decorative in October. And I should have cut this back earlier. You can see that it's looking a bit, I don't know, a bit sad. But this should still propagate pretty well. I already did one tray that's in the driveway. And you do actually want to cut these down earlier in the season. I'm probably not going to get blooms from these ones, but I'll have a couple different colors to choose from in my nursery. And actually this might give a little more airflow. But you do want to cut these down if you want them to actually bloom for you in October. So this will be plenty of cuttings
from that, and that should just flush out again now that it has a little bit more air. I'll cut back this catmint. This veronica here, I don't think I'll cut all of it back because, as I was showing earlier, it had a lot of good bees on it, but I am going to cut back these seed pods that it's trying to form. And actually some of these smaller ones, I think I'll just take these. And that is a nice cutting. These, from last year I found that these took very well and they rooted very well. So we'll get some of these. This is a good time of the year to cut back your lavender. You can see mine didn't really bloom very much because it's been in the shade its entire life since I grew this from seed. But if you don't cut it back, you're going to get more and more woody stems each year. But if you look down here, you'll see new growth. So you really want to cut these down pretty hard, and that gives you an opportunity to stick a bunch of these cuttings for new plants. So I'm going to cut these back so you can see that I cut that back just above some new growth. And I am going to be, so they say not to cut into the woody part, but some of mine are showing growth that far down, so I'm going to cut them there. I cut out anything that looks not so great, and then I'll be sticking these. So this looks pretty drastic, but if you come in here and you look down at the center of that, there is actually growth down there. So these will bounce back, and I won't have woody lavender in the future, and I have a lot of cuttings. So let's go stick all of these that we've taken. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a larger pot for some of these, and I'll be able to get a lot more of my plants stuck in here. And this is my potting mix with peat moss, sand, perlite, and a little bit of compost. You could use a mostly sandy or peat moss mix, depending on what works for you. I feel like this holds on to moisture better, so I'm going to put in about that much, and then I'm going to take my cuttings and strip them of a lot of the leaves, and then I'm just going to stick those around the edge of the pot, like that. And I think I might actually grab some rooting hormone because it is a little later in the season, and I did find that these mums rooted really well with the rooting hormone, and it'll just speed up the process a little bit. This is the rooting hormone that I have. It came in a set from Amazon of a couple different types, strengths, and I'm going to use the moderately easy to root. I think this is pretty similar to the one that you can get at Walmart for $5, so you don't need to get this Formex or any other fancier one. And I don't actually do the thing you're supposed to do, which is try to not put your stems directly into the bottle. I think pretty much everyone does that. I haven't really found that it's done anything bad so far, so I'm just going to stick it in there. And you can pre-do the hole if you want to. I'm going to space these out so that they don't touch each other too much, but you can see I'm just stripping the leaves from this plant. It's still wet because that part was just watered over there, and I'm just going to stick them, and yeah, come back when I've finished this pot. There is all of the mums all stuck. I'm going to give this a good watering in once I've stuck all of the other things that I've cut for propagation. You can see I didn't really try to reduce the amount of leaves on these so much. They're pretty robust plants. They're a little bit woody in the stems, and I think that they'll be okay. I'm going to put this down here. And then we're going to start another one. We're going to do the veronicas. So I'm going to do it in the same way, except I'm actually going to reduce the leaves a little bit more. This is what I'm going to do with the veronicas. Sometimes you can get one or more cuts from these, but I will, this one is like kind of between the sizes, so I'm just going to strip these lower leaves. I'm going to cut just below that leaf node and just right there, and then I'm going to open my rooting hormone, so I'm going to stick that like that. So I'll do that all the way around with all of my cuttings, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. All of those stuck, and you can see I put a couple in the middle. I just wanted to not start any pot. So I'm going to stick these down here, and I need to do all of these lavender next. And I have another one of these larger square pots. And I was thinking that maybe I should do an experiment where I do some of them with rooting hormone and some of them with not. So why don't I get maybe one more pot and I'll do 2 pots. There's my second pot, and I realize it's not a perfect control because it's circular and the other one is square, and this one's slightly smaller too. So in the past when I've stuck these, I have all of these lavender plants and none of them were done with rooting hormone. What I usually just did is when I was trimming them to shape, which you do a lot with lavender seedlings, I would just stick them around the outside of the pot like that. And I'm just going to cut off the blooms, but then strip the lower leaves like that. So this is going to be, this will be my no rooting hormone, and this will be my rooting hormone. So for the ones that I would be using rooting hormone on, it would be very similar. I would just strip those, stick that, and then stick that on the side. Some of these I've cut and it's pretty woody down here. I'm gonna mostly take cuttings from about here and up. You can stick these, they may grow roots for you, but down here I wouldn't bother. One of the main reasons why you might not use rooting hormone is just that it's just a lot faster to stick a lot of cuttings without using it. So I can just quickly stick these, and if you want to have a lot of lavender plants, this is definitely the best way to end up with a ton of lavender. I will say that I think that it is, so, you know, getting the rooting hormone on it, sticking, I think that they probably take really well when you're taking all of those soft tip cuttings when you've started the plant from seed that year. I ended up with, like, I don't know, just innumerable lavender plants that way. I think that these should do pretty well too. Right now the garden is looking pretty nice. This is my favorite time to garden, in the evening. And by gardening, I mean basically making more plants. These little tip cuttings, don't throw those away. Those actually do really well. That's what most of my lavender plants have come from. These really tender little tip cuttings. Oh wait, did I just mess up the experiment? That one had rooting hormone on it. I'm going to stick it over here. Apparently I'm just not a very good scientist. Put that one in there. What are you enjoying the most in the garden right now, Steven?
I mean, the roses have been so nice.
The roses?
The dahlias obviously are definitely some of the standouts for the season. We have lots of nice annuals going on right now, like the castor bean oil and the daturas. The daturas haven't started to bloom, but they are getting ready, which is, I think, feel like a little earlier than usual.
You know, they were blooming at I want to say the end of August last year, because when we were going to Minnesota, they hadn't bloomed yet, and then we went to my mom's house, who was growing them from the same seed that we grow them from. And I'll put a picture up if I can find the pictures that I took. So she gardens in full sun in Minnesota. She has clay soil, and her plants, because of that full sun and the clay soil that really holds on to moisture, She has a really wonderful garden. She's been amending her soil with lots of good compost because they live in a rural area for a long time. So she had so many blooms compared to anything we've ever had.
Yeah, that'll definitely be, some of these will definitely be a little earlier than that because they've already got pretty big buds on them.
Yeah, we didn't realize how much sun that area over there by the fence really gets because we weren't able to use it fully.
Yeah.
Lots of echinacea blooming, which I think I mentioned I've given away to people, but I slightly regret it, although I don't have that much full sun, so it's not like there was a lot to choose from. I think you might be right about that bug. There's like one. Saw a hummingbird for the first time.
We did see a hummingbird
the other day.
That was very fun. That's been a big thing that I've appreciated a lot more about the garden is, I wasn't like the biggest fan of bees before.
You're a little scared of the bees, huh?
Yeah, my mom's not a fan of bees, so kind of traumatized me for bees. But they're all over the place, and the exposure to them is you just realize they're just there to get the sweet pollen, and they go about their business. But most of them are bumblebees, which are a little bit more fun, like the nastier bees.
The bumblebees are real sweet. I like them.
But we've got lots of bumblebees, butterflies, lots of butterflies. We got a swallowtail, we have monarchs. Now
we have a couple of other ones. What are those ones that are black? I don't know what they are.
But that's been really nice to have those like garden friends, basically.
It smells really good. I've just been crushing these in my hands, and if you don't propagate lavender for any other reason, you should propagate it simply because it's something that smells really good while you're doing it, even if all of them die.
But these are pretty easy things to propagate as things go.
Yeah, all of these pots, the plants that I had around were all from this type of propagation, just stuck into the side of actually exactly these round pots. So it does take a couple minutes to reduce the leaves and stick them around, but you will end up with a lot of lavender, which I think is worth it. I would say that if you're going to start lavender from seed, I would do a winter sowing, the winter sowing method with jugs. I've had a lot of success doing that. Otherwise, I think that it can be a little bit difficult. You make it easier on yourself by winter sowing it because it automatically gets that cold stratification that lavender wants. So that would be my advice. I didn't get very many plants that first year, but it's okay because every time your plant is making one little spindly growth like that, you wait until it has a couple nodes and you cut that off and then you stick that cutting. So I would wait until it's a little bit bigger, but you end up, by shaping the plant, ending up with a lot more plants just by virtue of shaping. And then I overwintered these actually just because I didn't have any place for them in their pots on our covered porch, which is a Victorian covered porch. You can see it there. And that actually worked out really well. They were completely bone dry, which they seemed to like. So
yeah, they're not a very fussy plant. They obviously don't like super wet soil, and they like it dry, and so you kind of can abuse them a little bit and they're fine, which is nice.
They're from the Mediterranean, so they like dry, well-draining soil, and we have very sandy soil. So I made a mistake the first year. Well, we made a lot of mistakes the first year. We had mulch on all of the beds, which we ended up scraping off. Was it last fall or the fall before now?
I think we've done it a couple. I think this past fall was.
We got all of it.
Got it all.
Yeah. But now that we have some pretty dry spots, because we did mound up the dirt in the beds so that there's like a little bit of a slope up into where the plants are sited, that kind of sloped area, that ends up being a really good place for lavender. where the edge of the soil is drying out. So I finally have them taken in our beds that way, which has worked out pretty well. I'm trying to have a mixture of tip cuttings and kind of semi-woody stems in each one of these for the experiment. But not being super scientific here. Now, if you have some that are branched, this is called, I think it's called a heel cutting. If you just rip that off, like that little bit that came off the plant, the main stem, that roots very well on many plants. So that's an easy way to do that. You don't have to cut off the side shoots, you can just rip them off. A lot more cuttings. So I think I'm gonna grab another pot. Okay, we've grabbed another pot, and I think we're just gonna do this one without rooting hormone because I just want to get these done, and we'll have Steven do this with us.
And what are you thinking about when you pick your pot, right? Because you want a certain...
I like to just save the potting soil that I have, so I don't really want a pot that is using more soil than I need. I'm not having really long cuttings here, so I didn't really want a very deep pot. And also that deep pot is going to hold on to more moisture, which I don't necessarily want with these. I want the pot to be pretty free draining. If you're really just doing, I don't know, if you have some really long pieces, my thought process for cuttings, there are some cuttings that are good done quite long, like roses. They say that you want like a cutting the size of a pencil in width and like at least a foot long. I'm not an expert with roses or really anything else, but these cuttings are pretty short relative compared to that. So say if you were doing rose cuttings, you'd actually want a deeper pot. I think that the logic with the longer cuttings is that the longer the cutting you have, the more nodes you have that are going to be underground now. So those are more opportunities for rooting, is how I would think about that.
Because from each node, roots can begin.
Yeah, so you can see I've been putting these heel cuttings down in here, and I'm not too worried about removing the foliage from something that's a woody, drought-tolerant plant like this. Because if you were to just cut this and leave this sitting in the driveway for a couple days, it would still look about the same. It's very good at holding on to moisture in its leaves. It doesn't have really tender leaves like, I don't know, say the mahogany splendor hibiscus. Those would, wilt pretty much immediately, which is why I like to root them in water. These ones that we're doing outside, I mean, these would root in water eventually. I rooted some rosemary in water from our Christmas dinner, and that's the rosemary we have in that pot. So that was just in a water jar on a little ledge we have in our kitchen by the dishwasher, and that sat there for months and months and months. I can't remember how long it took to get roots, but a woody herb like this will actually root in water eventually for you. But this is just a much easier way of processing this. You don't have to really think so much about this. Every once in a while, I take our propagated things off the porch. Well, since it's the beginning of July, I've been taking them off the porch almost every time I come out and just watering them and then putting them back. And that gives them some oxygen around the plant's material that's, stuck around these pots. And it just keeps the soil medium moist. I think it increases your chances. Good.
And the idea with propagation in some ways is just sort of like to do so much of it that if some fail, it doesn't really matter. Like you've got maybe, I don't even know, 30, 40 plants.
I would say we have like hundreds of plants that we're sticking today, and that I think that's the secret to looking like you have a green thumb, is to just plant so many seeds, stick so many cuttings that you can afford to have some of them fail. And so if you want 3 lavender plants, you probably want to stick, I don't know, at least 3 times as many, if not like as much material as you have, or you have the space to stick. I'm going to start sticking these in the center of this one. We'll see how well that does. You're not going to get 100% rooting on any of these. Although I will say that I think that, like, I just stuck those geraniums the other week, and those are the ones that are in our driveway right now that I up-potted. Those all rooted. And I would say that was 100% germination. Did I just call them geraniums? I meant chrysanthemums.
Okay.
The mums that I stuck the other week, those had about 100% germination. So sometimes you will get germination. And another thing that I would think about is that, yes, if you have full sun, you have a nice site for them, this little sprig will create a whole nother plant. But if you think about the plants that you get at the nursery, usually you get a pot that's going to look a little bit more like this, but it's going to have grown up, right? So if you stick a lot of these in the pot, you're going to get a fuller looking plant sooner, basically. Since what you're kind of used to buying is not actually one plant, but many plants in one pot.
That's a good point.
That's why when you buy stuff from the nursery, you should cut it all up.
Divide
so
it.
You get more plants.
Every time this happens, we go to the nursery, we get a big, beautiful plant, and then we come home and Catherine dissects it. And it makes me sad. But she's right, because every time she does that, we get like 50 times the amount of plants.
Yeah, we get a lot of plants.
Like
So-
the what it was, geraniums?
The
or-
giant caramel hooper.
No. What are the ones that are along the
Oh,
border?
the geraniums.
Yeah, the geraniums. So the geraniums were ones that we got, and I thought they were such a nice looking plant, and then she just took the what was this little thing you used to divide it? The hori
knife.
hori knife.
Yeah.
Took that to him, and I wept some tears
Mm-hmm.
as you sliced it and diced it,
Yeah.
and then now we have an entire border of geraniums though.
Yeah,
so
from just one
plant.
Yeah. So I mean, it was probably multiple plants. I really like to get plants at the end of the season in the fall from nurseries, because usually they're not up-potting them right before they're selling them in the fall, and they'll be pretty root bound. There'll be lots of plant material in the pot. So there's multiple reasons then to really buy stuff in the fall, because of, there's nothing more disappointing. And I totally get it, because we've sold a few plants, but getting a plant from someone and you find that it's just like not rooted into the pot, so it wasn't really as big as you thought it was, versus getting a plant and you find, oh, there's actually 3 in here.
One of the benefits of buying plants in person as opposed to online, I suppose.
That's true. So we'll see. We'll compare this. So this one is also no rooting hormone. We're going to make some tags. We have some of the stems in the center of the pot. And I'll show you this is the only marker that I find that really works well with the plant tags, that doesn't fade. So we're going to do lavender, no rooting hormone. And we're going to make tags for the rest of these. We've got veronica. These tags are all cut from yogurt containers, so like 2-pound yogurt containers.
Save your money.
Yeah.
Don't go and buy tags. It's crazy.
Don't buy tags. No rooting hormone for the other one that's round. Veronica, we have the we're just gonna call them front mums, because we're not really sure what color those are. We'll have to look at our pictures from last year. And we're gonna make a tag for the rose. Just gonna water these in. Okay. And these we're going to leave in the driveway, just slightly sheltered, because they're perennials.
We're going to the special propagation area.
So You're gonna have to forgive the state of the ones that are already up there.
This is the really sophisticated propagation setup.
This is, I asked Steven to find me something else that didn't have holes in it, because we put holes in all of our trays. So this trash can lid is serving as a nice propagation station. These are box cuttings that we stuck, I would say like a week or so ago.
Yeah.
I think that those will be rooted soon.
Those are looking really good.
Some things are getting
There's
a little
buds
dry.
on them too, I'm surprised.
So, let's put these lavenders here. Just put these together.
And so you put them on the porch.
Oh, we forgot to bring in the other lavenders. that we
Oh.
grabbed.
There she goes, look at her run.
Okay, so almost forgotten about that one. Now I will show you where I'm gonna put that rose. I have, so you can see that I've stuck a lot more things than will actually survive. It's always experimental. These are my things that I've really wanted to work. And so you can see that this one's actually started to root right there from the top stem. So this is where I'm gonna put that rose because it's been in water inside. Until there are roots coming out of the bottom of there, I think that it should stay in here. So hopefully it's not too much humidity. These are some experiments, not all of which are working out very well.
Oh, you can see some are. These definitely are.
Yeah, some of them are. Also, these were some heliopsis that I cut down that I just stuck. Some of them definitely are rooting. This is the result of our propagation today, where we have several lavenders to check on later. We have the no rooting hormone lavender, the rooting hormone lavender that are the same. We have another no rooting hormone lavender that I stuck some in the middle. We'll see whether the ones in the middle, the ones with rooting hormone, the ones without, whether there's any difference. We have some mums that we also stuck with rooting hormone, and some veronica that we stuck with rooting hormone. So it is the heat of July, so things aren't going to be quite as successful as they might be if you did this in like June or even the end of May. But we should have a lot more lavender at the end of the year. I almost forgot I was going to do some calendula seeds. These are my favorite ones. And they just want to be sown about 1/4 of an inch deep. So I know I'm very wasteful, but I just like to know I'm going to get a lot of plants out of this. So I'm just going to sprinkle these across the top. I really love these pots that I got actually from Steven's grandmother and mother as a gift. It was one of those like 6 months of bloom spring baskets. Honestly, I probably could have put half of this packet in here. But so they're kind of, it's like what I was saying before, the economy of the soil. It's not too deep. It's kind of the perfect size for annuals if you broadcast them really thickly like this and you let them grow up. They're like, they have enough space to actually grow into this pot enough to just break them apart and put them out in the bed right away. Because I don't really like to spend too much time up potting annuals. But I'm putting a little bit more soil over the top. That'll make it big. And that will go up in our sunny spot of the driveway. And then it's already getting so late, but there's always a million things to do in the garden. So cantaloupe, calendula. I think it's like the 21st.
Yep.
And I ended up with no cantaloupe calendula this year because I had sown it a little early and we had that really cold, wet spring, and they all germinated and then they died because it was just so cold and damp. So these should be a lot happier now. Nicotiana out of here because it got a little bit too big. If it would stay upright like this, that would be one thing, but it kind of sprawls, and I don't know how nice it'll look into the fall, so I'm just taking it out of here. And I'm going to go and grab some dahlias, I think, to put in there. There is one right here, but I need 1, 2, and I think a 3 to go right there. Although I did grab some heliotrope out of one of the pots, so I'm going to put it in one of these ones. Like, what do you think? Like, one of these, I feel like this one, it already has buds on it. Maybe one of the ones that looks good over here, but is not gonna
Yeah.
do much because I put it in the shade.
Yeah, that's a good one. Plucked out a dahlia, and they're putting in some nicotiana.
It's very getting late in the evening.
We're doing what we call nocturnal gardening.
It smells so good. It smells like, it's kind of a heady, perfumey fragrance. It's not like a fresh floral smell, I would say. Here's a dahlia.
Rudely evicted.
How many did I say I needed?
3.
3. So let's see. That one's doing real well. That one's in more shade. So, and it's slightly smaller. So I think I'll take that one.
Dahlia eviction. Nicotiana housing.
Lots of water these. Although the nicotiana is really drought tolerant.
Yeah.
It actually seems much happier when it's not hitting water. I found. So 1, 2, okay, and then I have this one over here, which is closer to that one than it needs to be.
And do these have tubers on them?
They probably do, but I don't really want to reveal the
Right.
root system too much because I don't want to give them too much transplant shot.
But you're just making sure you get deep enough to get the tubers.
Yeah, so these were ones that I started from cuttings, but they were making tubers when I was potting them up when they were much smaller, so I'm sure that they have some tubers going. So actually I feel like this lightened up the bed a little bit.
Yeah. It's good. All right.
This looks better, right?
Yeah, much better.
Thanks for joining me in the garden today. Subscribe if you want to see the results of these cuttings. I'll try to make an update in a few weeks or towards the end of the season. Bye!